Hello everyone, my name is Melissa and I am a teacher in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I can't actually show you a demonstration inside my actual 3K classroom, which is where I normally teach. However, I can film in my actual classroom since there are no kids here. So this is my classroom. This is where I am most of the time, and today we're going to be doing a lesson called Word Planes, and it's just going to be working with children on being able to segment and then blend together CVC words, or consonant vowel consonant words, single syllable words that are super generic. This lesson is written using the Common Core standards for English language arts, however, and it's meant for kindergarten. However, it can be adapted to be used for pretty much any age group if you're working on like segmenting sounds or syllables or blending sounds together or alphabet sounds. Even with younger students, you can adapt this lesson to fit however you would like it to work. As you can see, this is our circle rug where we would start the lesson. We would gather here together, and I have all of my supplies ready here to go so that we can just go through things as smoothly as possible. Young children especially just need they need things to flow together. They can't have things disjointed, otherwise they can't always follow along with you. So it's very important to always have all of your stuff ready right away. Also, this is our quiet table over here. So while all of this action is going on here, and then later when we move over to the tables for the second half of the lesson, this is a designated area for students. We have a couple who just get really easily overwhelmed. They have some medical conditions that just affect the way their brains work, and so they just need some time and space sometimes to just take a breather. So at that table we have some extra worksheets, some colored pencils for them so that they don't miss out on any of the actual learning, but so that they can remove their bodies for a minute and go sit over there and take a couple deep breaths and just refocus, and then when they're ready they can come back and join the large group. So without further ado, we'll begin the lesson. As I said, this lesson is all about transportation, and it's called Word Planes because today what we're going to be doing is talking about planes. That's our unit theme is transportation, but today's topic is airplanes. So what I would do is I would gather all the students together on the circle rug, and we would start with a simple introduction where I would we would go through our vocabulary word wall together, and I would introduce today's theme using the targeted vocabulary words. So when we would gather together, I would say, welcome my friends, I'm so glad that we're all here again today. Do you remember what our unit is about this week? Yeah, that's right, we're learning about transportation. Today we're going to be talking about airplanes. Can you guys raise your hand and tell me who's ever ridden in an airplane? Yeah? See, several hands are up. How many of you would like to ride in an airplane? Yeah, that's pretty cool. How many of you would like to fly an airplane? That would be so much fun, wouldn't it? We're going to look at some of our vocabulary words. See the word way up there at the very, very top? That is airplane. Can you all say that with me? Airplane. Very good. We're going to chop that word up, okay? Ready? Here we go. Airplane. Very good. One more time. Airplane. Awesome. How many chops did we make for the word airplane? 2. Very good. So remember, last week we talked about syllables, and every chop is a syllable. So how many syllables was airplane? It's 2 syllables. Very good. Now we're going to slide that word together to make one smooth word. Ready? Airplane. Very good, my friends. So airplane is our first word of the day, and that's the one that we're going to be talking about. Also, another kind of plane that we can look at is this one right here. Does anyone know what this word is? Helicopter. Very good. So let's chop up that word. Ready? Helicopter. Very good. Now that one had a lot more chops in it, didn't it? So how many chops was in this word? Let's count. Ready? Helicopter. Very good. There were 4 chops in that word, so there were 4 syllables. Now let's slide it all together. Helicopter. Very, very good. There's also another way that we can travel in the sky, which is this. Does anyone know what this one is? It's a hot air balloon. Very good. A hot air balloon is kind of like a plane, but it doesn't have wings. Instead, it just has a basket, and the basket is underneath a giant balloon, and the balloon fills with air, and it floats you way up into the sky. That's pretty cool, huh? Another one of our special words for today is rocket. And we're going to learn more about rockets in 2 more days. But this is another vehicle that can take us super far up into the air. So ready? Let's chop up this word. Ready? Rocket. How many chops was that? 2. Very good. That was a simple one. Let's slide it all together. Rocket. Very good. All right, so I asked you already how many of you have ever been in an airplane, and a lot of you have been in an airplane. And in a normal lesson, they would also share with me a lot about where they've gone in an airplane. There would be some back and forth discussion about when they rode on an airplane, where they rode in an airplane too. I have done this unit before with other classes, and that discussion usually lasts about 1 to 2 minutes, and they get really into it. So as the discussion would wind down a little bit, I would display these picture cards. Airplanes are great big vehicles that take us way up high into the sky and can travel super fast. We can go anywhere in the world we want to in an airplane, right? Some airplanes are super big, like this one. Can you all stretch out your wings for me? Super, 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 super big. Very good. Super big, just like an airplane. And they can hold lots of people in them, and they can take you all over the place. Some airplanes, though, are a lot smaller. Look it. You can see which one is bigger, which one is smaller. You're right, the one on the right is a lot bigger, and the one on the left is a lot smaller. And this one can only hold about 4 people in it. It's a very small airplane. But sometimes these small airplanes, they can land in different places. If you have a big airplane, you have to land at an airport or someplace with a really long runway so that the airplane has lots of room to land. But if you have one of these little airplanes, then you can land sometimes in water or sometimes in the forest if there's an open field, or sometimes people can even land in backyards depending on how big the backyard is. This is a picture of what it looks like for the pilot inside the airplane. This place is called the cockpit. Can you guys say that? Cockpit. Very, very good. The cockpit is where the pilot and his co-pilot, that means that's the person that helps the pilot fly the plane. So the pilot and the co-pilot, they sit in the cockpit and look at all of these buttons and knobs that they have. That's a lot, isn't it? What do you guys think that some of these buttons and knobs do? At this point, we would take some ideas from the friends. We would allow them to share their opinions, their thoughts, just to kind of get them thinking and discussing and sharing a little bit. This is also a great opportunity for my English language learners to start expressing themselves a little bit. Since there's a no pressure situation, we're looking at pictures, it's not necessarily dealing with vocabulary. They have the opportunity of sharing with me in whatever way is easiest for them, their own ideas, which is a great way for them to practice using English in a very conversational way. So as we would finish out with these pictures, I would just set them over here so that they wouldn't be a distraction. And I would tell them that we are going to get ready to have another great lesson today. Our lesson is going to be all about airplanes, but we're also going to keep working on using breaking up our words just like we did with our vocabulary words. And after we break up our words into its different sounds, then we can blend it all back together. But before we get into the lesson, do you know what starts an airplane? What makes the airplane work? And at this point, I would let them share their ideas with me. You're right, it's an engine. Yeah, very good. Well, do you know that our bodies have engines too? Yeah, our body has a brain. Our body has a brain, and that's our big engine. That makes us think, and that makes us learn. So we need to warm up our engines just like the airplanes have to warm up their engines. So I want you all to take your finger crayons. Very good. And I want you to sit in crisscross applesauce. Very good. And in front of you, I want you to take your finger crayons, and I want you to draw a circle around yourself. Very good. Now this circle around yourself, That is your own personal puddle. And you're sitting in the middle of your puddle. Okay? And I want you to take one finger and I want you to splash in your puddle. What kind of sound would that make? Very good. Would it be a loud sound or a quiet sound? It would be a quiet sound. So take your one finger and splash, 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 splash. Now I want you to take your whole hand, okay, just like this, and I want you to smack it down onto the puddle. Ready? Smack. Now is that going to be a big sound or a little sound? A loud sound or a quiet sound? Very good. It's going to be a lot louder, right? All right, so take your hand. Ready? Splash. Very good, my friends. Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take your hands like this, and I want you to scoop up all the water in the puddle. Very good, like this. Now, when we throw it up in the air, the water is going to come down on us, and we're going to start with our high sounds, and as the water falls down, we're going to move from high all the way back to low. So we're going to start like this. Ready? Scoop up your water and go, ooh. Very good. Let's try again. Ready? Scoop up your water. Ooh. Very good. You guys used your high, your middle, and your low sound voices. Very good. Do you remember when we talked before about how we have 3 different voices? We have our head voices that are super high, right? Make your head voice, ooh. Very good. Now, then we have our chest voices. That's kind of in the middle, right? So that's kind of like our normal voice. So say, ah. Very good. And then we have our voices that come from our tummy, and that's super low. So let's sing with our super low voices. Ready? Ooh. Very, very good. All right, we're going to practice some of our new vocabulary words, but we're going to sing them in our high, our middle, and our low voices. So ready? Let's see. At this point, I would have a friend come and choose a vocabulary word. They could pick any word they wanted, but let's just say for right now they chose car. So what I would do is I would break up the word into 3 parts, beginning, middle, and end sounds, and we would sing together. So we would start with our high sound and go high to low first. So we would say, ka-ah. Oops. Ugh. Okay, try this again. Sometimes lessons don't always go perfectly. All right, ready? Here we go. Oops. Okay, we'll just put it down here. Car. And then we sing car. Very good. All right, and then I would choose another friend to pick a word. And this time, we would start from low to high. So let's just say that this friend chose the word ship. So we would go, ship. And then we go, ship. Very good, my friends. We would do this a couple of times. We would go through the exercise about maybe 3 or 4 more times. And then we would transition by talking about, did you notice how what we did was we took the word ship, or we took the word car or bus, and what we did is we broke it up into 3 parts. We had our beginning sound, which was our low sound, right? We had our middle sound, which was our chest sound. And then we had our ending sound, which was our head sound, our really high sound. And then what we did at the end was we blended it all together, right? We put it all together into one smooth word. Very good. Well, today we are going to talk some more about planes, but we're also going to talk about how we can blend words together. So I'm going to read you a story, and in the middle of the story there's going to be a problem, and we're going to see if we can solve this problem together. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Whoosh! An airplane is amazing, for it travels through the sky, above the clouds for miles and miles, so very fast and very, very high. An airplane is the place you go to take a trip by air. You check in at the terminal to show that you've paid your fare. Does anyone know what fare means? Those are some really good ideas, my friends. In this case, what the word fare means is the payment. So you know how we talked before about how when you want to go on a bus or when you want to take a train, you have to buy a ticket? You have to buy a ticket for an airplane too. And when you pay for your ticket, that's called paying your fare, okay? The ground crew weighs your luggage and loads it in the hold. And then you take the walkway to the plane when you are told. In these pictures, do you see what is all these things? You're right, it's the suitcases. Very good. Do you know that when you get on a plane, your suitcase, it can't be too heavy and it can't be too big. Just like in Goldilocks and the Three Bears, it can't be too big, otherwise there wouldn't be enough room on the plane. And it can't be too heavy, otherwise the plane would sink. So we have to make sure that all of our bags when we go on airplanes are just right. The flight deck's where the captain and the co-pilot do their jobs. They both know how to fly the plane with all its dials and knobs. They radio control tower to check the runways clear. They can't take off unless it is with other planes so near. By intercom, the captain on the flight deck says, "Hello." Say, "Hello, this is your captain speaking." You have to put your seatbelt on before the plane can go. So everyone buckle their seatbelts. Click. Very good. A plane is big and heavy, yet it climbs up really high. It zooms along the runway and soars up in the sky. What kind of a sound do you think it makes as the airplane shoots up into the sky? Yeah, all right, so let's make that sound together. Ready? Our arm's gonna be the airplane, so here we go. We're gonna start here. Very good. Let's try again. Very, very good, my friends. All right. Its wings hold big jet engines, which are loud and very strong. They stick in air and blow it through to whoosh the plane along. Do you see how these wings have the jets underneath that? They take air in and then suck it out super fast to make the plane fly through the sky. But we're going to stop here for a second because I have a problem. What do you think would happen if one of the jets wasn't working? How do you think we could get the plane to fly if it didn't have one of these wings? How would the plane work? How could we solve that problem? Here's what I want you to do, okay? I'm going to break you up into your thinking groups. And what I need you to do is I need you to work with your thinking group to come up with a solution to the problem. I want you to work with your thinking group to come up with a way that we could fly the plane if one of the wings is broken. Okay, I want you to use your actor bodies to come back in a few minutes and show me how you would fix the wings on the plane. Okay, ready? Break off into your groups, go to your spots, and in a few minutes when you hear the buzzer, you can come back to the Circle Rock. At this point, the kids would go to their assigned groups. All of the groups are heterogeneous, which basically means that there's a mix of levels. So some of them might be ELL students, some of them might be gifted students, some of them might be students who are lagging a little bit behind. There's a whole mix of abilities and strengths and weaknesses in each group. This way, the students can work together. The more advanced students can further their knowledge by teaching the other students a little bit and like guiding them. The students who might be struggling a little bit more, they would have the opportunity of learning by watching, learning by interacting, learning by talking through things with students who might be more comfortable. This way, no one feels on the spot. No one group will outperform another, taking away the sense of like rivalry or competitiveness, and just allowing kids to scaffold one another's learning and to come back using a variety of creative ways. So after about 3 to 5 minutes, you can kind of judge. I would get up and I would walk around and just kind of ask a few questions to see how the kids were doing, what they might be struggling with, what solutions they might be coming up with. And after a few minutes, you can kind of get a feel as to how the students are doing, if they kind of have an idea that they're forming or like putting together. If they do, then I would ring the bell and then call them back to the circle rug, where I would give each of them the opportunity to demonstrate for me how they fix the plane. And kids are super creative, especially when you give them the freedom to just be imaginative. And so there's a million ways that they could come up with to fix things on the plane. They might come up with a way to make a new wing, or a way to attach something else to the plane that would shoot it through the sky, or to build some kind of a rocket engine to stick underneath the plane. There's a million different things that they could come up with for that. We would work through the problem together, and each group would demonstrate for me how they would fix the problem with the plane, and then we would finish the story. Oops. When the plane moves fast enough, the air around so swift, it pushes up beneath the wings and makes the whole plane lift. Soon the plane is in the air. Oops. So now you're on your flight. The cabin crew look after you and make sure you're all right. They bring you drinks and magazines and trays of yummy food to eat. And sometimes there's even a movie you can watch while you're in your seat. When the journey's over, the captain lands the plane. Control tower has to say it's safe for coming down again. You sit with your seatbelt fastened. There's a bump, a rumbling sound. The wheels are making contact and the plane is on the ground. What do you think it sounds like when the plane lands back again on the ground? So we made our sounds when the plane is taking off, but what do you think it sounds like when the plane lands back down again? Very good. All right, let's try that. Ready? Way up here. Very good. Let's try again. Ready? Very good. At last the doors are opening, then out you come with smiles. So give a cheer, hooray, you're here. You've flown for miles and miles. Do you guys remember what the control tower does? That's right. They're the ones that tell the plane if it's safe to land or not. Do you remember what the flight deck is? You're right. That's where the pilot and the co-pilot sit, and that's where they turn all of the knobs, right? Do you remember what the wing of the plane does? Yep, it sucks air in and pushes it out super fast. Right? Let's try that. Very good. Do you remember what the terminal is? The terminal is where you wait to get on the plane. That's where you wait and you can see all the airplanes coming and going, right? Do you remember what the jet is? The jet sits under the wing. Yep, very good. It sits under the wing, and that's what helps push the air out super fast. Yep. Do you remember what the wheel does? Yep, when you land the plane, then it coasts it to a stop. Very, very good. Very good, my friends. You learned so much in this book, and you helped fix the plane's wing problem, right? Well, okay, I want everyone to stand up for a minute. We are going to fix a couple other planes that are having some problems here, okay? So this is what I'm going to have everybody do. Everyone is going to get a special card. And this special card is going to be broken up into 3 pieces. It's going to have a beginning sound on it, a middle sound, and an ending sound. Just like what we did on our felt board this morning with our vocabulary words, okay? I want you guys to build a plane. And I want you to put the beginning sound on one wing, the middle sound in the middle of the plane where the people go, and the ending sound on the other wing. And when you put it all together, that'll be one whole plane and one whole word, okay? So, you can go to the tables, You can use anything you want to build your plane, anything at all. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to give each of you your card, okay? Sound like a plan? All right, you guys are dismissed. So at this point in the lesson, what I would do is the kids would be here working. Now, obviously, I would have a classroom full of students, and so these tables would be spread apart across the entire classroom, and there would be a lot more supplies than what's on the table, but since I don't have a real class right now, not in person anyway, I figured that this would suffice to demonstrate to you the kinds of materials that I would have. So we would have our Play-Doh, we'd have fuzzy sticks, we'd have pool noodles, we'd have foam pieces, Q-tips, pom-poms, straws, paper towel holders. There's sheets of poster board and colors and markers, colored pencils. There's noodles, there's glue, there's paint. All of their paints are here. There's easels, pretty much, and there's cardboard boxes. Anything that they could think of to use, we would try our best to provide. And the kids would have the whole classroom to just kind of spread out and work on building their individual plane. And then what I would do is I would go around to each student and I would give them one of these. So it's, as you can see, it's a mode of transportation. Each one would be a different mode of transportation. So I have two examples here, which is, I would obviously, again, have a lot more if this was really happening in real time, but they have the picture, but they also have the letters underneath them. And so the students would have to sort through and figure out which one goes in the front, which one goes in the back, and which one goes in the middle. It is a little easier because the middle one is super small. And so as the friends figure it out, they're going to be able to like help each other and say, oh no, the small one goes in the middle. Also, the pictures will help for like my ELL students or students who might be lagging behind. They can put it together almost like a puzzle, so that they'll be able to better identify the beginning, the middle, and the end sounds. For my students who maybe are a little bit more advanced or for whom this might seem like a little bit of an easier project, what I would do is I would take, first of all, I would give them a little bit of a harder word that might involve like multiple sounds at the beginning and multiple sounds in the middle and multiple sounds in the end. So for instance, like train or rocket ship or something along those lines, kind of depending on their level of where they're at and what I know that they're capable of and what the challenge feels appropriate for them. I also have the availability of just cutting just the word for them, so they wouldn't actually have the picture here to go by. They would only have the word, which again would increase the difficulty and give them more of a challenge and help them to further work on this concept of segmenting and blending phonemes. So I would give each child their own specific card. That way I could tailor this assignment to fit the specific needs of each student. Because the truth is that each student learns in their own way, in their own time, and at their own pace. And that's the beauty of teaching, is that I get to work with so many amazing kids who all have different strengths, different weaknesses, and I get to try to help every single one of them succeed. And so each card would be tailored to fit the specific needs of that student. So like I said, if they're a student who's like just right hitting the mark exactly where they should be, not above, not below, they would just get a normal vocabulary word card cut into 3 pieces. If they might be an ELL student or someone who's struggling, they would get one with the picture, and it would be an easy one. It would be like car or bus or something like that, where it's just the 3 letters and they just have to put those together. For, like I said, an advanced student, they would have a harder word, maybe even multiple words that they'd have to put together depending on the situation, and they would have the picture cut off so that they were just working with the letters. Now, some students are super detail oriented, and they're going to spend forever at the easel painting or building like a very, very specific kind of plane, and it's going to take them a long time. And others are going to blow through this pretty quickly. So what I have over here, again in our quiet area, are these worksheets, which again, for my students who might sometimes struggle with needing a moment just to like relax or take a breath and step away from the activity for a minute, or if something is just feeling like it's dragging on too long, they can come over here. Or if they're finishing early, they can come and use these. So this would be an example for a student who is either performing at like average or excelling in this area. So it has the word here divided out. They need to see each segmented part, put it together, and then match the correct picture with it. So for instance, they would see that it's p-i-g. So they would need to put that together to say pig, and then they would need to cut and glue the picture of the pig over here. For students who maybe aren't super good at this yet, or for students who just want another worksheet to work on, they can use this one. So the first two examples are completed for them. It's the complete word, it's the segmented word, and then it's a picture. This is great for my ELL students because it helps build their vocabulary and also allows them to succeed in this whether they're super confident in their English or not. So again, for the word flip, it divides it out for you, full, and then shows you the picture. Here it has the full word. It asks you to divide it out. So it has these lines here, the dashes, for you to know like how many letters to put for the first sound, how many to put for the second, how many to put for the third. It also has the picture so you know what this word is. This is definitely going to be a challenge for students who might be performing at a lower level or who might be struggling a little bit more, but it's easy enough that I feel that they could still succeed without it being so easy that it doesn't scaffold their learning and help them to grow. In addition, I also have some other matching games word matching games that they can play in their literacy center over there. They are free to use those to supplement the learning. Again, it's something where they have to count out the syllables and then match the picture to the word. It's great for vocabulary building. It's great for just word recognition in early readers. So for those students who might finish with this activity of plane building quickly, they can come over to this area and work on it. And after working on this for a while, if it looks like this is still going to take some time, then they could even transition over into like reading or doing a second craft or helping a friend even. We really encourage teamwork and working together. So after probably around 20-30 minutes or so, possibly longer, it would be a very open-ended activity. So kind of just judging on how the students were doing, we would start wrapping it up. And I'd ask the students to come back here to the circle around with me. And we would have what we call our presenter's chair. So what we would do is I would become actually a part of the rug. I would no longer be the leading this portion of the lesson. The students would be. And one at a time, each student will come and present their word plane and their word. And so what they would do is they would show their plane, and they could talk about it as much as they wanted to. They could show all the little details if that's what they wanted. They could share how they built it. They can share where the people would sit or where the cockpit is or all of these different things. And then after they've shared, then they'd show the completed plane and how it would fly by sharing their blended word. So for instance, for the student who had the word car, they could show k, and then how it all blends together to say car. And as they blended together, their plane would take off and we would have the plane shoot up into the sky. Each student would take a turn doing this, getting to demonstrate their completed word plane and getting to show their segmented word and then how it blended together. I would probably do like the first example so that students would be able to see how the process would go, and then from there they would get to kind of take over. The only thing I would do was call up the next student and call for a round of applause as each student was finishing, which my students usually are very good about doing on their own anyway, so honestly I probably won't even need to do that. As the students come up, they kind of get to decide how much detail they want to put into it. This means that students who might be less comfortable sharing, perhaps they just are shy, perhaps they're new, perhaps they're an ELL student who just isn't very comfortable with their vocabulary, they don't have to explain a lot. They can present their plane, they can present their word, and we can shoot it off together and give them a round of applause. For students who might be more advanced, they would have to give me a little bit more detail. I would ask them questions and ask them to share a little bit more about the process of how they made it, the process of how they figured out their word, and how the word blends together. This would be the summative assessment at the end of the lesson. This is where I'm going to be able to judge and see kind of how the students were doing, kind of see overall like who's got it and who maybe still is struggling. If as the student is successful in putting together their word plane and being able to show me that they can blend a word, then I would say that they've succeeded and that this lesson plan was successful. If they're unable to do so, or if the word isn't blended, or they don't have the word in the correct order on their plane, then I would say that we would need to go back over some things and maybe redo this lesson or go back a few lessons just to make sure that we have the foundations correct. Also, at the end of the lesson, we always do our thumbs up and thumbs down activity. So this is kind of what it would look like. I would take a seat back in the teacher chair, and I would say, all right, my friends, you all did so good building your word planes. I'm so proud of you. We learned lots of new things about planes, right? Tell me, how are we feeling about planes? Are we feeling really good about planes? Are we feeling okay about planes? Or are we feeling that we don't know too much about planes and we would like to learn some more about planes? And I just kind of judge their individual responses. All right, we also talked a lot about the three parts of a word, right? The beginning, the middle, and the ending part of the word, and how we can break a word up and then blend it all back together into one smooth word. So give me a thumbs up, an okay, or a thumbs down for taking apart a word and putting it back together. How do we feel about that? Awesome, awesome. And that's kind of how we would wrap up the lesson. We would end it on a really positive note. I would praise all the students for participating, for doing their very best, and then we would move on to the next part of our day. I can also use the extra activities as a way of just kind of monitoring the students as they're building their planes. I can also walk around and look at each student, talk with them one-on-one to see how they're doing. This would be a formative assessment, these observations, to see kind of where they're at in their learning and who it's clicking for and who maybe I need to spend some more time with working, or who I need to give more supplement material to take home to just help them understand this concept, because it is a hard concept. It's not something that we're initially born knowing how to do, to take apart a word and then blend it all back together. And so this is hard when you're 5 and 6 years old to learn to do. And so being able to walk around the classroom as they're working on things, and to work with my co-teacher to see like what we can do to better support the students and where the students are at in their understanding is crucial for future lesson planning. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. This is where I leave you for the night, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again later. Bye!